Hello everybody, welcome to my new video. So this video is going to be a little bit different from my other commander decks. So this is actually going to be the Core 2021 spoilers. So this is something that I haven't tried out before, but I thought that it would be an interesting video. So if you guys like the video, just make sure to drop a like and maybe comment if you want to see it again. So moving on to the first card, we have LAN Work Visionary. So LAN Work Visionary is a 3-mana 2/2 elf druid, but when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you can tap it for a green. So I think that this card would make a great addition to like any elf decks or mono green decks, because it's any ramp and not a lot of green decks have a lot of card draw. So I think that it would be a really nice addition to a deck, and yeah, that's kind of what I think about that card. And it is in the common slot, so it should be fairly easy to find. The next card that we have is Primal Might. So Primal Might is X and a green for a sorcery, and target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn. Then it fights up to one target creature you don't control. I think that this card would be really good in like a mono green deck, yet again. Because if there's not a lot, so say you put this on your commander and your opponent only had like one creature, then you can just fight their one creature, probably kill it, and then swing at them for hopefully lethal. And I think that this card would also be really fun. It's at least not an instant, so you can't like pump them at instant speed, but I know that would be a very good card if it could do that. I still think that it's a pretty good card, and yeah. So this is a rare card, so it might be a little bit harder to find, but yeah. Pack Leader is a 2-mana 2/2 dog, and it reads other dogs you control get +1/+1. And whenever Pack Leader attacks, prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to this turn to dogs you control. So this is one of my favorite cards in the whole entire spoiler, because there might be a dog archetype, and there is a commander about dogs and cats, but I'll get back to that later. So I'm super excited because I really like dogs, and I think they're very cute. I really hope, hopefully this all works out, and maybe I can make a dog commander deck and I'll show that to you guys. This card is called Gadrak, the Crown Scourge. This is 3 mana for a 5/4 dragon with flying, and it reads, Gadrak, the Crown Scourge, can't attack unless if you control 4 or more artifacts. And it reads, at the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn. I think that this card looks like a very, very interesting build to make, because if you can be swinging with a 5/4 on turn 4, then that would just be incredible. And I think that you can probably do some really fun things with this commander. And if you don't make a commander deck about it, it would for sure go into some sort of artifact deck, because of course you would probably get more artifacts in an deck. Because I think artifact decks are probably easier to make when it's in the colors, or it could fit into some other mono red artifact deck. So yeah, that's kind of what I think about that card. Chromatic Ori is a 7-mana legendary artifact that reads, you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color, and it can tap for 5 colorless mana. You can also pay 5 and tap it to draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So I think this looks like a pretty crazy card. There's a lot going on here. But I think it would be really good in like, say, the Dragon, because you're not going to be playing the Dragon on turn 7 anyway. So if it can fix your mana and cast him the next turn, then that would just be really, really good. The same goes for any 5-color commander. I think that the Dragon was a very good example though, because he costs 9 mana, and something like Niv Mizzet Reborn, you want to try and aim for a turn 5 cast with him. So that's why I don't think it would be as good in that, but it would for sure still be good. And yeah, I think this would be an exciting card to put in a commander deck. So Indulgent Patriot is a 3-mana 1/4 vampire noble with flying and lifelink. And at the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. So I think that this card can for sure go into any life gain deck, like Oro, or really anything. There's actually a new vampire card, sadly it's mono black, and I think this would have gone in really nicely with that. But yeah, so it's because you can drain your opponents fairly quickly with this. I think that it looks just really good, and yeah, so I hope to see this card around a little bit. Sadly, I don't play a lot of life gain in paper, but I'm for sure gonna try and make a deck when this card comes out. So Quirion Dryad is 2 mana for a 1/1 Dryad, and when it reads, whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, or black, or red, put a +1/+1 counter on Quirion Dryad. So I know this isn't Commander, but it might go good in like a Pioneer Niv to Light deck. That's kind of what I noticed when I saw this, but it can go into a Niv Mizzet deck, like Reborn, but you don't see that deck too much. But yeah, it looks like a really fun card to add into a deck. Because if you're playing a 5-color deck, then you're most likely going to be playing a lot of like white, blue, and black or red spells. So because most of the cards will be 2-color, and so almost every single, if all your cards are like 2-color, then every single card will give you the ability on this card. So yeah, I think that's really cool. So Peer into the Abyss is 7 mana, 4 and 3 black for a sorcery, and it reads, target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life, round up each time. So I think that this card looks really interesting. I'm not quite sure how this is gonna affect the game. The only issue that I noticed with this is that for 7 mana, you're probably gonna be fairly late into the game. Let's say you have a mono black deck, because there's not a terribly large amount of ramp in a mono black deck. And if it's not a mono black deck, it might be a little bit hard to get the 3 black mana in the cost. But I think this is going to be an interesting card. I'm not sure if it's going to see too much play, but I'd for sure try to incorporate it into one of my lists. So this is the card that I was talking about, the Dog Cat Commander, and so it's Rin and Ciri Inseparable. So it's 1 and Naya for a legendary dog cat creature. It's a 4/4, and it reads, whenever you cast a dog spell, create a 1/1 green cat, and whenever you cast a cat spell, create a 1/1 white dog. You can also pay Naya and tap Rin and Ciri to Inseparable, deals damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control, and you gain life equal to the number of cats you control. So I think that this is a very cool card. I think this would be a very interesting card to see. It looks really, really good, especially because there's a lot of, because we already saw one dog, like we saw like one card that gives all dogs buffs, and I know there's a lot of a dog lord. There are a lot of cat lords already, but yeah, so I think this would be a really interesting card. In this deck, I'm sure I'd put a lot of shapeshifters in it. That way, whenever you cast a dog or a cat, you get both triggers to happen. Yeah, I think this would be really interesting, though. So the next card we have is Containment Priest. So this is 2 mana for a human cleric with flash, and if a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. So this is kind of good like a stacks deck. It's really more for competitive play. I think it looks like a pretty cool card. But the only issue is that there's not a terribly large amount of cards where you can, where you don't cast the creature. I wonder what people are gonna, do with this, card, but I'm sure it would go into some kind of stacks deck yet again. Yeah. So, Teferi's Ageless Insight is 4 mana for a legendary enchantment, and it reads, if you would draw a card, except for the first one you draw in each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So I think that this card would be really good in a Niv Mizzet deck, like one of the Izzet Niv Mizzets, or a Locust God deck, or something like that, really. You can even make a Storm deck with this, because you can Storm off pretty easily if you have this on the battlefield. Yeah, so I think this would be a really fun card to use. So here's the Teferi card. So, it's 4 mana for 3 mana Planeswalker, and it reads, you may activate the loyalty abilities of Teferi, Master of Time, on any player's turn, anytime you could cast an instant. So, I think the main, thing that people are going to be using this card is, things outside of Commander. I'm not sure how powerful this would be in Commander, because it doesn't. I'm not sure how big of an impact it would make on the game, except for his ultimate, because his ultimate's pretty crazy. Yeah, so I think this looks like a pretty fun card to use. Like, I might want to try and make like a brawl deck or something with it, because it looks really fun. But the only thing is that people would see it coming for sure. Yeah, but yeah, this looks really fun. So, Teferi's Protouch is a 3-mana 2/3, and you can pay 2 and loot. So, I think this looks pretty fun. I mean, it's a really straightforward card, and it's a wizard, so there's a lot of wizard decks that use abilities, and they can like duplicate abilities and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think that would be kind of a cool card. So Spark Hunter Masticore is a 3-mana 3/4 Masticore, and as an additional cost to it, discard a card. And it has pro planeswalkers, and you can pay 1 to make it deal 1 damage to a target planeswalker. You can also pay 3, and to give it indestructible until end of turn. So, I'm not sure how good this would be in Commander, but it would be a powerhouse in like a sideboard in a different format, just in case if they're playing like some sort of like Super Friends deck. Because the only issue is that you can't have a sideboard in Commander, and not a lot of people play a lot of planeswalkers. So usually people have like 1 or 2 planeswalkers, but it's gonna be hard to kind of line it up so this guy's on the battlefield with another planeswalker. I'm sure you could still use it though, just as like an extra little ability. Yeah, but this looks like a really cool card. So Liliana Walker of the Dead is a 4-mana 4 loyalty planeswalker, and you can +1 her for each opponent to discard a card, and if they can't, they lose 3 life. So, she also has a -3 to have target creature get -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your graveyard. And you can also get an emblem for -7, which is her ultimate, and it reads, at the beginning of your combat on your, I think that says combat, it's very blurry, but it says, on your turn, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control, it gains haste. So, I think this would be really good, because, like in some sort of control deck, because, her +1 is gonna, a mix between her +1 and her -3 can take out your creatures and prevent them from coming onto the battlefield in the first place, making sure that it opens up for her ultimate to come out. So it'd be really good in like a Esper control deck or something like that. Cause like that, the ultimate, it might not win a game, but it's for sure gonna put you in a position where it should be fairly easy to. Yeah, so I think it's going to be kind of cool. And then the -3 also synergizes with the -7 because you can kill a creature and then bring it back under your control. So Ruined Halo is this is actually a reprint. So it's 2 white mana for an enchantment, and when it enters, choose a card name, and you have protection from the chosen card name. So I think this is really cool. It can be used in Commander pretty well, because if someone has a very threatening commander, or really any card that they've already played, with commanders, you can kind of see it coming when they're going to cast it, so you can give yourself protection, like, soon before the commander comes out. Or, say there's a big scary creature on the battlefield, you can just get protection from that. So I really like this card. I think it's a very cool card, and yeah. So Tournant Script is also a reprint. It's a 0-mana artifact, and you can tap it to sacrifice it and exile all cards from target player's graveyard. So, this card I think would be very good in a commander deck, because usually someone's going to be playing a graveyard deck or have some sort of interaction that requires their graveyard. So I think it's a very cool card. Fierce Empath. So this is a 3-mana 1/1 elf, and when it enters, you may search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost 6 or greater, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So you can use this for like a combo. I think it's very cool. It's also very good in like an Animar deck, because if you can find an Eldrazi and like play it for almost free, that's just really good value. So I think this is a really good card. This is also a reprint. But I think it's a very fun card, and it's an uncommon, so you can find it pretty easily.